All right. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of our podcast. Again, my name is David Levine, founder and CEO of ResTech Solutions. And I'd like to welcome Sarah is joining us today. Sarah, if you take a moment, introduce yourself, tell everyone what you do.
Sure. I'm Sarah Gura, and my business is called The Self-Care Path. And I specialize in treating first responders, so mainly police, fire, military, dispatch, sometimes emergency department professionals in the counseling session space. Yeah.
So today we are focusing around the topic of the hidden cost of outdated systems in healthcare and the tech needed to solve it. So in the mental health care space, especially with first responders, technology plays a big role in maintaining confidentiality and accessibility. From your perspective, what challenges have you seen when healthcare providers rely on older systems or outdated tech tools?
I think my biggest complaint or the need is to pull all these different services together somehow so that they are HIPAA compliant, so that the patient can sign into one space for their provider and have access to all the things that we provide, whether that be the service, their telehealth link, their appointment reminders, or whatever is there. Right now, I have a list in front of me of just way too many places even I have to sign into in order to connect with my patients.
Can you give us like some general examples? You don't have to be specific if you want, but what are some of these different places or portals you currently have to use?
So I wrote down we have a Facebook link, but then I've gotten rid of that because it was just one too many. People are doing Instagrams and LinkedIn. I have a HIPAA compliant software called Insora, but I also have a Headway billing company. On top of that, I have GoDaddy for my website and Psychology Today for my advertising that I'm available. On top of it, we have phone services that block all those spam calls from coming in because your phone number is posted on a website, therefore it's so accessible. I could go on, but all of these different places I wish were just in one hub.
Okay. And what would that mean in general for your business if you could find a place that puts, if not all, most of it in one hub?
Well, I'm tired of paying $100 here, $100 there per month per service. If you need a Zoom account for meetings because your HIPAA compliant software only will make a meeting with a known patient. You have to have that separate service. If you want to write a blog, it's a separate service then from your website. And again, to protect your phone or to engage through social media, it's just so messy. Or the fact that I do EMDR as well, which is a specialty type of therapy for trauma patients. I have to have a separate entity for that as well because my regular software doesn't offer the bilateral stimulation feature. So it's literally just lists and lists of services with lists of fees, and it's not all in one place.
Okay. Well, appreciate that. Well, and so speaking a bit more about your business, can you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about it? I know your business is the self care path. So, what had inspired you to create your own practice, and how has it evolved since you started in around 2007?
Sure. Well, in 2007, I was more of a general practitioner. I would take almost any type of patient. I was young and trying to figure out what my niche would be. But by 2010, that's when my practice was just taken over. And I've been doing full-time first responders and emergency professionals since then. And of course, over all that time, I've needed a space to teach. And that's why I have Zoom or I go out and about, but it's like less economic, right? To drive around. You can't travel everywhere to teach. Again, technology has been super useful. Or when COVID happened, right? All of a sudden telehealth is available, all these new services, and the way that they bill for it unfolded. I'm also licensed in another state. So I work in Florida, but I also work in Illinois. And tech services, again, very much so needed and evolved the way that we do mental health services. But it has remained first responders all along and teaching about first responder mental health the whole time. Just different delivery methods.
Okay. And so, kind of digging more into that, I guess, first responder piece of it. And so, we've been talking about your systems and processes. So, how are you making sure that these systems and processes are helping you to serve your patients efficiently? whether that's in person or through telehealth, knowing that you kind of have this sprawl. And I'm sure you probably on more than one occasion have looked to try and consolidate and streamline.
Yeah, I think, knowing that I have the HIPAA compliant software to assist with all the things, whether it be meeting with them in person or online, all the documentation has changed too. And so the way we do everything about my business, the way you bill it, the way you meet with them, the way you take your notes, the way you teach a class, all of it, again, just becoming something in the 2025 era and trying to keep up, making sure that you're compliant. But I'm not sure if you want me to go into more or if that kind of answers the question there.
I mean, whatever you think is going to be sufficient, I'm okay with.
Yeah, that we're definitely using all the things and we're trying it out, like technically I think we're only 5 years into figuring this out since COVID because it just wasn't allowed or paid for in a way that was actually sanctioned and approved of. So to be 5 years old into using technology at this level in my business, we're discovering, I think, every day, every year, what has to change to be a little more comfortable.
Well, and I appreciate that. Definitely some good insight there. And so, obviously, I know that running a private practice means you also have to wear a lot of hats. So, how do you balance your clinical side with your day-to-day operations, such as scheduling, billing, managing your patient data securely, and also you mentioned, going out and teaching these classes, or even juggling between is this in person or is this virtual?
It is hectic. Again, why I wish we can find something that streamlines the process a little easier because I have two phones, you know, one personal and one professional, and you have to check them every day. And then you have to check your emails and respond to any of those messages, new patient inquiries, or can I reschedule an appointment? Can I cancel something? Can I make an appointment? That fits into my day in addition to what's usually about an hour-long therapy session. And if I'm going to teach a class, I like to do that in the mornings and like freshly teach and then later do some therapies. And in between all of that, or at the end of the day, you have to document it because we're living in that world where if you don't document, it didn't happen. If you don't document, you don't get paid. So then when you're done with that, the day goes on with now I have to bill it and submitting through an electronic means to do billing and then to check and make sure the status of everything is clearing, that you're going to get paid on time. We do so many hats, as you said, from the phone service to the therapy, the note taking, the billing, and the compliance and the quality, not to mention all of the things that you do to stay licensed or to keep up with the state standards of care. So the days are long and several hats and many different, I guess.
All right. Well, I appreciate that as well. I can understand, I run my own business too. So I definitely, every day it is, put one hat on, take it off, put on another one and back and forth. Yes. Streamlining using technology, to its most efficient means, can certainly help. But again, as you've mentioned in experience, it could almost have an opposite effect when you have such a sprawl. So it's finding that right balance.
Yeah. And I don't think there is a right balance. I don't fault myself for not finding the right balance right now because, again, so many usernames and passwords for a list of things I wrote down just to run one business and make sure that you're compliant with all the rules and regulations. I guess I wouldn't expect us to be there quite yet. And also it proves to me that my brain is still faster and more efficient than technology because I'm able to do all those things even though we don't have the software to do it.
So I'm curious to know, you've built such a meaningful practice to help people heal and grow. And so what do you find most rewarding about the work you're doing today?
Sometimes my answer to this type of question is measured how I think and I feel or how my personal life is going. So I can sleep at night knowing that my days are purposeful and that they're meaningful. My primary purpose in life, as I always tell people, is just to sleep well, to eat well, to hydrate, to choose joyful things. And my work is joyful despite the trauma, the human illness, the human death, the human suffering, the massive amounts of human stupidity and property destruction that I listen to on a daily basis can be sort of hectic. However, I love that I can truly sleep at night and appreciate my own existence. through all of this messy stuff.
All right. Phenomenal. So I want to move into kind of discussing if you have any initiatives going on. Is there anything new or technology updates that you're working on right now that might be able to help improve your client care or streamline your operations?
Well, there's one that I'm sort of resisting right now, and I guess I feel in my resistance to it, I am doing a better service. It seems that what they want us to do in our field is record private healthcare sessions, a therapy session, and they want to take that recording and sell it to us as, well, now we can write a note for you and it will be compliant with insurance because insurance eventually is going to have AI read through your note to see if you're legit enough in your session to be paid. And if not, of course, then insurance can claw back at you and snatch money out of your checking account, sometimes months or even years later, which that's always been true. But with this idea of we'd love to sell your or record your therapy sessions, write in that note for you and guarantee your money, a part of me said that would stop police and firemen from coming to therapy right now. No one wants to be recorded talking about their worst day at work, where they make their bread and butter, where they get their insurance, where their pensions are tied to it, where they're not very friendly with psychological support services as it is, even though they are trying to fake that they do like it. They just don't have the laws to protect them. So a part of me believes that choosing to actually just engage with the human, remember what we did, type a brief note that gets the point across but doesn't reveal too much. That old school method to me is still pretty precious so that police and firemen don't have to ask, are you recording my session? And where does that recording go? And what could happen to me if? So I guess I'm feeling, resistant and also like I'm keeping something sacred, for my field.
I mean, I can definitely understand that because I think AI is still so new and kind of so young in the way we're using it that we don't really have a lot said in around the privacy of what happens to it. Like a lot of the advice that have to remind people is really just common sense. And I was actually literally talking with a client about this morning because, they were putting in some information and I had to pause and ask them, well, how much of this is proprietary or information you don't want out on the general public? And I had to stop and think for a second. So it's like anything you put in AI, consider it public information unless you know you have a truly privatized container and that data is not going to be totally separate from the public data set. And so I know that's going to be something that we're going to have to still deal with for a while. And they can figure it out or they can figure out some law to help manage this. So I do see it as it's still going to be a big problem. And yes, I know people and organizations are trying to find ways to use it, kind of like you mentioned with the note in the vein of trying to be helpful, but it also makes you wonder, one, where is that recording going? Who now has ownership over that, where it's stored? Two, what are they doing with that data? And three, are they even going to do anything to attempt to sell some of the data they have? Because I know that's always going to be a concern. So whenever I hear companies doing this, it's like, and I say this for anyone who might be listening to this clip, is always stop and ask, where is this going and who can access it? And if you can't say 100% for certain one way or the other, assume it's going to be out in the general public. And if you don't want it there, don't do it.
100%. I think I've met some very ambitious attorneys in my life, also some not ambitious ones. But if they wanted to find something and digging through someone's private healthcare information would be mortifying to me and unfair. And until I really can see a guarantee that we are doing no harm to our patients, there's no way you can sell me a service that says you can do your notes faster. Because truly, recording my session doesn't give me a peace of mind. Giving me a fake note that I have to read through, redact, or fix anyway it's just, I don't ever see that being a part of my workday.
I got it. I understand it. I mean, it's even outside of just, the patient care area, there's so many other things that we do. It's like, this is great, but I don't want it there.
Nope. What I want is EMDR and note taking and meetings and private healthcare sessions all in one software. That's what I really want. Like, stop doing this extra stuff that I didn't ask for, and let's focus on the patient's experience and the owner. Like, I'm the one doing all those hats and outsmarting your software. So, please let's actually provide a service that's worth the money I need to spend to run my business.
All right. And so I know we've probably talked about this or covered quite a bit, but I want to formally pose the question here. So I know many practices that we've talked to are surprised at how much cybersecurity ties into patient trust and compliance. So how are you currently managing things like the data protection or ensuring your systems stay secure and HIPAA compliant?
I'm relying on the software that I do use. So the software that I do use guarantees that, HIPAA compliance. They give us updates on when they improve. They give us surveys for how to be a little bit better when it comes to managing private healthcare information. I feel pretty secure, that the platforms I use are doing what they say. I just don't and won't use the AI recording or note taking yet. And when I say yet, I really mean I probably won't ever. So that's my end, is just taking a look at how can I protect them. Even though it's offered, I don't have to use it.
Okay, no, I like that. So, kind of one of my final questions, because I know, and from what you've told me, and I have an idea where this may go, but if you could wave a magic wand and improve one part of your tech setup, maybe something that slows you down or adds stress, what would that be?
I think, yes, back to the beginning, if my clients could enter in their username and password and then get all things Sarah, and they just have to click like, I'm doing EMDR today, or I'm doing a telehealth session today, or I would like to pay my bill today, or I want to see what her current blog says. Like, what is she posting about? What does her podcast say? What does, her current Spotify, podcast also say? So I have one on YouTube and one on Spotify. If it could all be in one sign-in, that would be great, because in the morning, one of those other things that I have to do is take a look at, okay, who gets this link, who gets that link, who's in class, who needs psychology today, who needs this email. Like, it's an extra round of service. And then of course, when they're like, I forgot my password, it's like delay.
No, I appreciate that as well. Yeah, I can understand, especially dealing with what I do from an IT standpoint, the password piece, because it is, something probably is one of the most common things we deal with for folks.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up, are there any final thoughts or any other questions that you may have for today?
No, I think I'm driving a point home, between just my own business and the things that I have to think about as a business owner, all the way to some of the tech issues. So it's relevant for you. My hope is that they talk to us therapists a little bit more, not insurance companies. Don't design one piece of a service for us. Let's look at the whole picture so that my practice just is more streamlined.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. So thank you, Sarah, for joining us today.
Thank you
It was
too.
great having you here, and I appreciate the insights.